16.
It's my turn now.
GSL Season 2, Cove, Renaissance.
All right, we're back. RagnaroK versus FanTaSy is coming up next. We will be eliminating one of these two players. Now, RagnaroK, I gotta say, is playing amazingly. Okay, it's really cool to see him kind of find his stride. FanTaSy, look, Artosis and I are both from StarCraft 1. We're big fans of this guy's play in Brood War, but I don't know if he's prepared to really survive to the round of 8 here with the play he's brought today.
I was frankly surprised he made it to the round of 16. I don't feel like he's someone that will necessarily make it every season as of yet. He made it this season, maybe he'll continue to improve. Maybe he's got some skill there already that we haven't quite seen. But his play seems like it's occasionally flimsy, and you need to be pretty rock solid to get deeper than this. So can he do it against RagnaroK? RagnaroK already took down Special and TY in the previous round. I don't know what FanTaSy has prepared, though. You don't know with this guy, and even if he looks somewhat flimsy for a bit, there might be a moment where he just, everything clicks and he knows it all and he wins GSL. And then we're like, oh, there he is.
Oh my God.
Thunderbird.
What is that? Is that a map? Thunderbird? Well, what kind of? A bird of thunder? You say? We're finally going to get to cast one of the new maps. Woo! Ooh, let's go. Thunderbird is ready. RagnaroK versus FanTaSy starts now.
게임이 시작됩니다.
Storm Gaming, RagnaroK. Player 1, FanTaSy.
You know, these maps with the minerals that you can mine through. Have you ever seen in StarCraft 1 maps that have this? If you ever go in against a PC and it'll like build a command center next to those minerals.
All right, from Canada. Thanks for coming down.
Yeah, it looks very
cool. So this was...
looks like something a monk would walk across to prove that
yeah. Some hot coals there. So this is actually, for some of you guys, this might be totally insane looking at this, but this is actually not a totally new concept in StarCraft. This is something from StarCraft 1. The idea is that, you know, obviously with destructible rocks, I mean, there's a certain way that you have to eliminate that, right? You need a big enough army. Minerals can't be destroyed. So what you have to do is send a worker out early, which can change the way, you know, certain builds can be executed. Now, while we've kind of seen how this has impacted StarCraft 1, and by the way, this made for some of the cool strategies in StarCraft 1, so it's cool that we're finally at a point here in StarCraft 2 we can start to do this. And so, see, he's going to send this worker out, create an opening, and we're going to see, again, how this kind of concept can be utilized on a map like this. And whether or not you want to have regions that are blocked by multiple minerals back-to-back so that, you know, it would take several workers to mine that out. This is going to be something that I think is really going to change StarCraft 2 in the long run, I think.
I'm excited about it. I hope that it really plays well. You never know. This is the first big try like this. Like Redshift was similar, but not exactly the same. You know, I got to say one thing. With all these different mineral paths, I feel like it's a good map for bad Terran players because they seem to always bring their SCVs with their army, you know?
Oh, yeah, that's funny.
Okay, so just some light Reaper harassment. We'll see what's coming up next. I wonder if FanTaSy will try any BC builds. Those have been popular.
I also wonder if FanTaSy has anything specific for this map. You know, when we would watch the way that FanTaSy would play the game back at StarCraft 1, it was really cool. He bent a lot of the rules of Terran. And had some very specific builds where if he just covered everything perfectly, he would be able to pull it off. And he wasn't a player who, right out of the gate in StarCraft 1, vanilla or in Brood War, was a player who was good. He actually took him a long time to become a very, very top-tier player. And that might be the same thing here in StarCraft 2. That's why we've always got our eye on him.
Never know when he's going to pop up and just destroy. Well, just delays that base slightly. Looks like he may be going into Banshee here. Banshee Hellion, perhaps. We don't see a Cybernetics or a Cybernetics core, Fusion core here. So no BC, but it does look like Cloak Banshee along with Hellions. I think FanTaSy's relatively likely to go ahead and play with mech here. I like that Overlord speed is of the utmost priority here for RagnaroK. I think that speaks a lot to his power as a macro player right now. He just wants to scout what's going on. He wants to know, is this going to be a BC? Is this going to be mech? Is it going to be bio? Is there a Hellbat push coming? What is it? And that Overlord speed obviously is going to help him to find that out very quickly.
Here comes the Baneling's Nest now. One thing about FanTaSy also is that it's weird. He looks occasionally to be much more advanced than other people playing the game, but he's also made some mistakes that were things that he basically should have had sorted out in StarCraft 1. Does that make sense? At least in some of his StarCraft 2 games. I'm not sure where exactly he is in practice, but...
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think, we don't know, I think, is the best answer, is we don't know exactly how good he is at this game yet. And I think people can look at it and be like, well, he's in the round of 16. That's how good he is. No. We haven't really seen enough of his game since he's been back, plus because he just came back and he is a player that was a super champion before, not just like a regular champion, but like, you know, like not just a regular tournament, but a super tournament, one with lots of Protoss. That's kind of what FanTaSy is, you know. So, yeah, we aren't quite sure yet. We will see over the coming couple of years. Ooh, Banshee speed and mech.
Sick.
So a little bit of that Gumiho style.
And now with the Gumiho style, what you do is you stay back and you're capitalizing on the fact that Banshees with speed can dart around the map so quickly, and if the Zerg is out of place at all, I mean, locations just get pulverized. So, and then of course behind that you're making a very strong mech army and going into a late game engagement. And this is more of a traditional approach of how mech was played even back in the very, very early RTS days.
The Speed Banshees kind of add this whole new interesting thing. You know what other player actually was a big Speed Banshee mech player? It was Ryung.
That's right.
Yeah. I think he must be in the military now. I haven't heard from him in quite some time.
I believe he is in the military now, yeah.
He's doing a bit of commentary and stuff, but yeah, I haven't even seen his name in a qualifier. But anyways, we do have some Cyclones being made. That Banshee speed will be done relatively soon. Roaches are being made here from RagnaroK, who's continuing to expand and push his creep. Gotta be careful, you don't want to lose those right before speed's done. You feel like quite the fool.
We've actually had some games where the Banshees are eliminated immediately, and it is quite unfortunate.
It's like whenever a Banshee dies like 2 seconds before Cloak finishes.
Yeah,
that's a sad moment.
Whoa! We'll never truly get used to the range of that thing. At some moments you think, really?
God.
Damn.
My God.
Okay. Speed is almost done now. Yeah, again, RagnaroK's also, I've been talking maybe a little bit too much about FanTaSy here, but RagnaroK's also a player who we kind of remembered him as this cheesy Zerg player.
Yeah.
And for good reason, he was actually very cheesy. And then he'd occasionally get into situations in games where he'd lose in a situation that kind of didn't make a lot of sense, just for how most of the other games went here. But he's really transitioned into a really healthy macro style, a very good reactionary style. So these are two very unusual players to have here against each other in the round of 16.
Feels like we're seeing him do what Lenok did last year, where you're this Zerg that's kind of not doing that well for a long time, kind of overly aggressive, and then suddenly you are one of the best macro Zergs. And I don't want to oversell him yet, but what I've seen so far this season really makes me excited. I mean, Katowice as well. I mean, a lot of people have seen this and commented on it. He's looking very strong. Now, it looks like Battle Mech is the choice from
I miscalled this earlier. I thought it was going to be more of a turtle mech, but no, not at all. It's going to be a mech where he comes out and tries to get in a fight here. Now, Ravagers don't really have as much that they can do against this army comp. These units have the easiest time dodging corrosive biles.
Yeah, but you know, the idea of the Ravagers, I think, is to throw down the biles for your retreat, because then they can't follow you in. and thus the lock-on will end a little bit quicker. So I like having just a small amount of Ravagers in there.
No, you're right. I think it's necessary, but it is quite different compared to when you see Ravagers versus tanks, or if the tanks you're able to get close to the Ravagers, the Ravagers can get close to the tanks at all, they just shoot them down immediately.
Yeah, I need to point out what we're seeing here from FanTaSy. I'm really liking this. It looks like he's going to go into BCs. I'd be very surprised if that was for Liberator range. So I think we'll see BCs here. And that's a very interesting shift from what we've seen, like, for instance, from Special, right? Ooh, nice. Picks off a couple of screens. But let's see if he starts some BCs. I'm very excited about this, though.
Yeah, you know, we had people go right into BCs, and sometimes it worked, other times it didn't. But, you know, the presence of the BC early on, sometimes it was like this crazy hero unit that would just actually kill everything.
Yeah.
Well, and instead, it seems like FanTaSy has decided to... Oh, we got a Nidus network, by the way, coming up here. But just before this actually picks up, it seems like FanTaSy might be trying to navigate this into a more gradual developed tech here with BCs later on.
Okay, it is actually Liberator range, so never mind about that. But and I've seen him do this before, Liberator range with Battle Mech. He did it last season some against Lena and someone else. Anyways, it looks like this Nidus will be shut down for now. A very interesting composition that FanTaSy's going for, something that no one else really does, and that's kind of his MO.
Yeah, FanTaSy always playing by his own book here. Again, this Nidus is not going to do anything, although I wouldn't be surprised if we see continued attempts to get Nidus network set up somewhere. This keeps Terran busy back at home, but
it's so
cheap.
With
the only thing is that I don't know that Terran is that worried about pushing out immediately, you know. I guess as we hit the max out point, he might try to come out here, but RagnaroK continuing to grow and gobble up the map. His creep spread is not actually that extraordinary, considering that it wasn't like Terran was the most active ever on the map.
I think it's not terrible, but yeah, it could be further along, there's no question. And that's something that's important against any composition that you're playing against. Okay, so RagnaroK's starting to push the map a little bit, continuing heavily on upgrades, continuing to pop up Niduses in various places. That's kind of interesting, the way that he's using his Niduses right now. It looks like he might actually be using some of them defensively.
Yeah.
I'm StarCraft 1-esque if that's the case, because it takes a long time to walk up to this base, so you can just pop out some units.
The Nidus network in StarCraft 1 was almost exclusively used as a way to have your army in 2 locations at once, but almost always for defensive purposes.
Yeah.
But, you know, Blizzard, I think, adjusted the Nidus network to be actually more exciting here in StarCraft 2 is a way for Zerg to actually, you know, pounce with a giant army somewhere else on the map without just having to use a bunch of overlords for drop here. Instead, you can actually unload an entire army, traffic that through the map.
This is funny watching.
Look at this.
Try to kill
These things
stuff.
are just terrible against air. Look at this.
You remember when they first came out and they did so much damage against air that literally we had games where Maru only made Liberators? They killed like all the Corruptors after killing the whole ground army.
I better get out of here. It's going to be 60 more missiles and then I'm dead.
Okay, so a lot of factories being added, command centers as well. Both sides kind of filling out their tech a bit.
Yeah, harpooning here on the Liberators. Hyper sniped that down.
Kind of nice. Very good abducts so far.
We didn't really get to see the takes come into play here until the very end, and Zerg immediately just pulls away before that fight can even happen.
Yeah. Oh, does he continue to move forward? Yeah, it looks like he does.
Hey, great corrosive vials. That's going to take out 2 of those Liberators right there.
Continue to make lots of Hydras here. He's going to have to refill the energy immediately upon those Vipers. Definitely a very important unit to go with the Hydras in a composition like this.
So far, FanTaSy hasn't made much of a splash here on the map with his mech, even though he's at the point supply-wise where he's, you know, the goal is no longer to try to turtle out. It's to try to pick fights and see if you can't seize control of the few no man's land expansions on the map, because it was pretty clear that you can cut this map in half diagonally.
You see this? Do you see what I see?
Yeah, look at that. StarCraft 1 play.
That's amazing.
Pops in,
that
pops
was
out.
super cool. Super cool stuff. Really, and I mean, the thing is, the map is making it hard for him to run there. A lot of times, Zerg can just run anywhere when they have that creep spread.
RagnaroK's so sick.
Oh, my God. Yeah, really nicely done.
Damn. Look at that.
I love it. He's gaining lots of value with all of these moves. It's a little bit less efficient as he sits here and fights a Planetary and all these units.
Look at this.
Okay.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
And then he just runs away.
Well, I think he's going to end up losing a bit here, but as long as he's being efficient, and it seems like FanTaSy's supply is dropping a little bit lower over time and not coming up all that quickly.
Yeah, well, the Zerg also has a, as far as minerals go, a higher disposable income, but you can kind of balance that out with a low gas amount. We want to watch and see how many more Liberators and tanks are picked up, because that's a, you know, a pretty gas-intensive thing. Where if that starts to thin out, then you're kind of stuck making stuff like Hellions, you know. Doesn't really do as much in the super late game. It's what we'd call a mineral dump. You have the minerals, so you're trying to just throw them somewhere and then try to get some value out of it later on.
So making quite a few Vikings at the moment, along with Cyclones. FanTaSy not really gaining ground anywhere.
No, not really.
With these Broodlords on the way, all these Vipers still out there, a good set of Hydras still as well. Getting a bit nervous for him. I don't know that he's really achieved what he needed, and he hasn't transitioned. You know, you can go battle mech for some time and then switch over into a higher tech comp, and I guess he did in a way with the Liberators. But is this going to beat a Broodlord tech? I don't think so.
Yeah, and if it is the Broodlord tech, is it going to be too late? I don't know. Hold on.
I mean, the Broodlord tech is just good in general. Yeah, he's making some Vikings as like a counterplay to that. But I look at his army, even when it's like maxed out or it's not maxed out, and it looks like a bunch of mid-game units trying to be late-game units.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, the Broodlords are going to come down here and tear apart this expansion. The thing is, as far as, you know, both sides giving up locations, because 12 o'clock is taking a lot of damage, just now goes down. It looks like Zerg's already moved into the bottom left, and the Broodlords can actually roam towards the upper right, get a kill. The Cyclone Hellion army is not going to kill everything. This is going to be chased away easy peasy.
Yeah.
Hydras are just so strong on creep.
Yeah, they certainly are.
Now, this is the big moment, is, you know, when you get those Broodlords isolated, well, then they're all going to get killed off. Actually, not if he puts a Nidus right underneath this and pops a bunch of Hydras out on top of it, if that's the game plan that he's going for.
Look at this, so the Cyclone's gaining a little bit right there. Okay, good abducts, though.
Oh, wow,
He's
he
going to buy enough
saves
time.
Great play.
Oh, does he have anything to come out there?
Yeah, he just, no, that's just a Nidus Storm coming up from the ground, trying to see what was going on in this game. I heard RagnaroK's playing, just gets killed.
Okay, looks like these Broodlords are not having a happy ending here. They're all going to fall, it seems. And
yeah, but I think with the damage that RagnaroK did, he's probably fine with this.
these constant Niduses I really love.
Yeah.
Like, we don't see anything there, but what if he did pop units out there? Suddenly a bunch of Hydras pop out and flank, and he's doing this all mid-battle.
Well,
super cool stuff.
Not to mention, as far as structures on the map, Terran has no position at all here. In fact, he's floating buildings to try to reclaim the, I guess you call it the 3 o'clock bases over there.
Well, he's trying to pick off some more bases. Obviously something very important for him to do.
Okay, good play.
Yeah, that's good.
That's a little win he needed to have there.
Seems like he doesn't, yeah. It's hard to respond quickly enough because these lock-ons deal so much damage. So he's clearing quite a few bases. Look at this. RagnaroK's down to 4 bases and very low on minerals on them overall, whereas FanTaSy has retaken. Wow,
well,
what an interesting play he's doing with this composition. Like, just running around, sniping things. It felt like well, it feels for sure like it can't win a straight-up battle, but that's not what he's going for, so who cares?
Okay. Chases that away. Now, the Broodlord army's up, and this is where, Zerg can basically fight, and Terran either has to give up and run, or try to do some kind of run around. But I think part of the game plan here from RagnaroK might just be to go from location to location, kill everything else that Terran has, because I don't think that Zerg has to try to expand anymore. I think you can actually try to end the game, right?
Well,
he's going to give this up.
Like, it seems like FanTaSy is just kind of killing everything, and yeah, he's losing some bases. But if RagnaroK has no bank, and FanTaSy's still mining some...
Yeah, this is so weird. So the one expansion that FanTaSy has that's mining is the center right? Everything else is mined out for FanTaSy, though.
Yeah,
they're both actually...
Well, both of them are barely mining
no
at this
income
point.
here, yeah. The thing is, I think that the Zerg army Can
RagnaroK
finesse
truly
out more
doesn't.
kills. Wow, RagnaroK has 17 workers to 47 SCVs.
Yeah, almost no bank here also. Oh, no. Oh, that would have been.
Oh, my God.
Wow, yeah,
Wow.
no,
Okay.
that was a good moment.
Now,
It was 5 of his remaining
With-
17 drones.
with 6 o'clock gone for Terran, can Zerg simply, even with inferior supply, move a Death Ball army towards either the main or the center right?
Well, as long as FanTaSy is on the map,
Yeah.
I don't think he can, because this
No,
will kill buildings more quickly than RagnaroK
I
can.
think you're right, Artosis.
I think you have to get a battle as RagnaroK. If you can defeat his entire army, that can be a victory. But if FanTaSy runs around you and kills all your extractors and stuff like that, you know, like just gets rid of your buildings, that's the true win condition.
Yeah, this is a way a lot of Birdlord players lose, is that they have this army, and you know, there's nothing that makes the Terran have to fight that. You could basically run around it, kill off everything, and then try to run back. There's a whole art form to trying to move a Broodlord army around the map and get into the right spots. And this is a moment where I don't know if we're seeing the very best of that.
Oh,
Taking a lot of damage here. These Vikings really hurting. Damn. Lots of damage done there. That actually was pretty huge there from RagnaroK. I thought there were a lot more Broodlords are going to be picked off.
I did too, when the anti-armor missile came down and everything.
Yeah. Now, here we are. Terran's going to have to try to hold this spot. But, you know,
Pretty decent split there.
yeah, he's kind of chewing his way through this.
FanTaSy's still mining, though. See, I mean, RagnaroK's doing a good job. This is what he has to try to win this game, is to get that full-on engagement.
We may see an incredibly technical victory here from RagnaroK. If he's
Well-
patient enough, he could do this. I mean, it's a long shot,
Yeah.
but it is not impossible.
The thing is, FanTaSy still has some income, so there are some more units coming out, whereas with RagnaroK, really not.
It's too bad. One isolated Viking or Viper, excuse me.
Well, everything's on move command, so it's fine.
Oh.
I spoke too soon.
Okay, so there's nothing back at home here. In fact, it's 7 workers to 14.
Ooh!
Okay,
look at
great
these
catch.
pickoffs.
You know, Vikings are very slow. In fact, he could even try to get this command center here. No,
There
he
is
wants to come up.
a slight chance of a draw in this game, I do want to point out.
Yep.
He does not have a corruptor. So, like, if it gets super weird, it's possible.
Okay.
It doesn't seem like that's going to be the case.
Cyclones
though.
are coming underneath here.
Oh, here come those Vikings, though. Look at this.
Oh my
The
God,
flanking
this
from
game is so
FanTaSy.
crazy. There it is, GG.
You should call him FanTaSy.
FanTaSy. Wow, FanTaSy. By the way, we got to have the game on Thunderbird. Yay!
It was good. I liked it. It was interesting with the Nituses to kind of defend those very side bases that he hadn't mined through.
Yeah.
I think that was part RagnaroK, part the map, but I'm excited to see more of it.
But FanTaSy comes out on top. You can see RagnaroK had this army that was really hard to deal with. And so, you know what? FanTaSy didn't deal with it. He kept counterattacking, he kept hitting bases, he kept maneuvering around. And even though there was this really cool approach where RagnaroK would spring Nidus networks just in the middle of the map sometimes, he managed to get that lead, and RagnaroK in one last-ditch attempt tried to push through the entire map and kill it. FanTaSy got tanks in his main and had one base mining in the upper right. He took out the Broodlords, he took out the Hydras, and he won game 1 on that.
It was a really well-played game. Very much enjoyed that. All right, King's Cove, map number 2. A little bit more straightforward this map.
All right, let's go to game 2 on a map that we are very, very used to, unlike
게임이
Thunderbird.
시작됩니다.
Storm Gaming, RagnaroK.
I can't stop thinking about FanTaSy.
Yeah.
You know that song, Hey Baby, You're My Ecstasy?
yeah.
I keep singing that in my head. You're my FanTaSy.
Player 1, FanTaSy.
By the way, the winner of this match will face off against Hurricane.
Yeah, that should be a pretty good match. I think RagnaroK versus Hurricane is probably something I'm a little bit more excited to see than FanTaSy again against him.
How dare you?
I know, I'm terrible. I'm a bad person.
We're supposed to let our bias come out.
My bias is coming out. RagnaroK might become my new Leenock. I don't know. We're gonna wait and see.
You're gonna have this tragic relationship with him as a caster. You think he might be the one to take it, and he doesn't do it.
Don't know yet.
Is he your rebound from Leenock, basically?
Oh, I still love
You need to go into therapy, Artosis. You
Leenock.
just keep finding these Zerg players and falling in love, okay? And saying they can change and they can win GSLs, and then your heart gets broken.
I know.
You know?
This nerd turns 30 next week.
Oh!
20+ years.
The dirty
Happy
30.
Birthday!
Happy birthday. The dirty 30. Listen,
dirty
guys.
30, is that what that's called?
That's what the dirty 30, man. 30s, by the way, better than 20s. For those of you younger people watching, it's so much better.
Right now, I'm half the way to 72. I'm so happy.
I'm just excited to die, everybody. What was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Oh,
something about FanTaSy, I
I was talking about how you just fall for these Zerg players and get hurt.
Oh, yeah, no, I do.
You know,
sometimes
you do.
I do.
I'm like, why don't you go find a nice Terran player and settle down? You know?
Oh, I did a long time ago.
I got my Protoss player.
But
it's SOS.
Me and TY have an open fan relationship.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where I'm allowed to like macro Zergs as well.
Okay. You're allowed to see other macro Zergs as long as he knows about it. Here comes that Reaper into the main. We saw that very cool mech style. We thought it might have been battle cruisers in the first game with FanTaSy and RagnaroK, and then it turned out to be Liberators.
Yeah. He really has his own take.
The Liberators are actually the least impactful part of that entire build, by the way. They were all shot out of the sky
it was interesting.
pretty quickly, but it was actually the Hellion Cyclone play that won the end game, which is not normally what wins the end game in mech. Normally that's just sort of this placeholder for aggression and harass.
You can tell that his battle mech play has gotten stronger because we did see it before. But yeah, I mean, most of the mechs that I've really thought were showing some great plays had some amount of Cyclone Hellion, but were eventually transitioned.
Correct.
Wow. That Reaper.
Yeah. It's a badass dude, that Reaper. I feel like that's the opening scene for that Reaper to be in a movie. Like, wow, this Reaper means business.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Thought you'd forget about me?
Look at that.
Oh, my God.
He's going to get it.
He's going to get it. Please. Oh.
No way.
Oh, wow. All right, we've already built the
you got to dive
the protagonist and the antagonist here. Oh, no, this is a 90s action film. Never mind. He's going to beat everybody up right away.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Okay, he did finally get that other queen.
The Reaper and his army of Hellions continues to rain terror on the map. Roach Warren.
How do you know that the Reaper's in charge of the Hellions?
Oh, he's for sure in charge. What is
maybe
it?
those 4 Hellions are all best friends and they're in charge of the Reaper.
This is one Hellion in the back. He's the leader, and the Reaper's just the oddball here.
No, they're all equals, except for the Reaper.
I can't believe how much damage it did back there.
Yeah,
Not that often we get to see that happen like that.
Okay, so an armory's on the way. Cloak, a lot of Hellions. I think it is going to be mech. Seems pretty obvious at this point. But just the Hellbats by themselves are going to be very, very scary.
Oh, no.
Look at that Reaper. He is the boss. He's so lazy he didn't even attack the
Good.
hatch.
Continue to destroy these eggs. Let's see if those queens are here.
Clearing out some overlords here with the Vikings. Look at that, 2 Vikings.
Gosh, FanTaSy has such unique playstyle here.
Hero.
You heard I just called him Hero? I think it's what they called
what in the world?
the Reaper Hero, I think is where it came from. I thought, wow, am I just thinking he plays like the player Hero? A different race?
He definitely doesn't.
Yeah.
Just to make that clear for everyone.
Nidus.
Oh. Speed Banshees.
Okay. Here we go. Oh, great cleanup there.
Well, at least he knows for sure it's mech.
Now, in kind of an odd turn of events, there's a chance that because all the mech is moving out on the map, I think the Nidus might be able to set up inside the main without any pushback.
It's funny, too, because he had 2 Vikings, and they didn't find that 1 Overlord. So there's 1 Overlord just sitting in the back, and he thinks he's safe because he kind of swept around with the 2 Vikings. It's always the one you miss that causes all the trouble. Well, it wouldn't be the ones you caught because they're dead.
It's starting now. Hold on, do we have FanTaSy reacting? I don't think FanTaSy even sees this. He's macroing. He's like, now is a good time to switch add-ons.
It's not. Oh,
he has no
gosh.
idea.
That's scary.
Oh, boy. Oh, second
yeah,
Nidus.
he
Oh,
blocks it.
sick.
He's going to be able to make cyclones out of that Nidus.
You're so funny.
Is anything even coming out of it?
Yeah.
It's just a blocker.
Yeah. The Nidus can finally do its job as a body
It's an
blocker.
offensive
Artosis.
Nidus. Yeah, that's what it's always wanted to do.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right, well, that's it. We'll be going into game 3 now. This game is...
But there's 2 Cloak Banshees here and no Overseer.
Yeah, you're right. It's,
So what do you
still,
have to say
it's
about
absolutely still a game of chance. All right, well, Fantasy, do what you do best, man.
He has
Stay in
2
the game.
factories and 2 factories in construction.
GG.
Okay.
RagnaroK pulling the rug out from under Fantasy in game 2.
Yeah.
I like it. By the
very
way,
cool
that's
game.
the kind of play we would see from RagnaroK years ago.
Oh, it was well chosen to go right
Yeah.
there, though. And I think that it was completely reactive to not lose the Overlord. There's no way you would have tried it otherwise. In Fantasy, you know, that's a rough game to lose because he was doing very well. And if he had caught that Overlord, this game goes on for a very long time.
That's right.
So that's a heartbreaking loss. And if he gets eliminated, he's going to be thinking about that one.
Man, Fantasy he had vision of that too. He just completely missed it. Happens to everybody, unfortunately. You do not want that to happen in a GSL match. I mean, you know, in some ways, RagnaroK kind of got the free win. Also,
It was quick.
losing those Lings, ironically, you know, normally that's a disaster to lose that many Lings early on to all those Hellions. Actually made Fantasy feel so confident moving out on the map, he had nothing to defend when the Nidus popped out.
Yeah, very true. Okay, so Cobalt. Remember when we used to be excited to see Cobalt?
Yeah,
No, now it's all about Thunderbird.
that's right. That's like back when people had pagers, Artosis.
Yeah.
Okay, a bunch of young people watching this don't even know what pagers are. All right, we are going to go into game 2.
Pages are people that like pages.
Exactly. What is that, people that read books? Pagers?
Yeah.
Storm Gaming, RagnaroK.
So we got the close by air spawns. It's a 4-player map, our only 4-player map.
That's right.
Player 1, FanTaSy.
Not sure what to expect. We haven't seen too many games here. Obviously, if Fantasy wants to go for something like Banshees, he's got that close by air path. There's also that island there.
Yeah.
And if he does go air, I mean, maybe there's a possibility he can take that island.
It's trickier to take islands in StarCraft 2.
Yeah,
You know,
no, it's tricky.
You know,
can
one thing
Nidus
about-
it pretty easily, right?
you know, we've been casting both StarCraft 2 and StarCraft 1, guys. We're, you know, casting KSL actually tomorrow and the day after. But, you know, one thing about StarCraft 2 is, you know, you start with so many more workers, the game speeds up better, which I think is actually better for TV. StarCraft 1, it starts out pretty slow.
Yeah.
You kind of slog through the early game, but it also means that you end up with so much tech and such an army, oftentimes an air army. It's hard to kind of just snag an island without also being exposed to, you know, one of your other expansions.
Hey, did you see what's below this map? This is like the city in Fifth Element.
Oh, yeah.
See that?
There's Bruce Willis down there. And that orange-haired girl. That movie's kind of, it's like a classic, but it's kind of dumb. He's like, oh, there's a Fifth Element. It's like, well, there's a lot more than that, actually. I don't know what you mean.
I'm going to talk with Mr. Che about replacing you with Rapid, someone who actually loves that movie like he should and like everyone should. That's like the greatest movie ever.
The Fifth Element?
It's one of, yeah.
How dare you? We used to make so much fun of that movie back in the day in our old cast. How dare you? It's
Well, it's a
all
funny
on the
movie.
record.
They're
inside of me. You mean the stones are literally in you? Okay, well, that's a good thing I don't get metaphors. Let me just dig into your dead corpse and get the stones out.
Why would you have a surgery to put those stones inside your body? That is a great movie.
Yeah, you wake up and she's like, oh, I got to sing. I better be careful using my diaphragm because I've got ancient stones inside my body.
Maybe that's why your voice sounds so good.
That's true. That could be it, you know.
You ever think of that? And here's the other part. What if she had, what is her name, Lilu?
Lilu, I'm not sure.
What if she had Lilu sewn inside her body too? Then could she just go to the temple and do it all herself?
Wasn't there some kind of a plot hole thing in that as well? Is that the main villain like never actually interacted? What was the main villain's name? The guy that works for like
Half bald, I think.
Zorp or whatever.
Yeah,
no, but
something like that.
half bald or whatever his name is. Like has some kind of. He's got some problem going on with like a guy who's like a glowy sun thing or something.
Yeah, that's the evil thing itself.
Yeah, evil thing, like dark voice guy or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm mad at you, half bald. I'm gonna make your nose bleed. And he's like, oh man.
Yeah, don't mess with
worse than that.
Don't mess with that thing.
I'm out of toilet paper.
It's very dark.
I got to go back and watch that movie. I think
I watched it again recently. It was just so good. Yeah.
I feel like that's actually a movie that would get better with age.
It does.
Probably enjoy it more. Okay, so we got another attack coming in here. Once again, the Reaper and the 4 Hellions.
Oh God,
the Death Squad taking names.
The Reaper with his Hellboys.
Yeah. And this time around, a very quick Banshee with Cloak.
He's going to find the Overlords this time?
Oh, he's going to see it.
Well, everyone always has that thing blinking. That could be a little.
Yeah, actually, it's so commonplace to have that upgrade going and then cancel anyways.
That thing, yeah. Well, seems like it's just a pretty economic game so far. Some harassment units out. The 3rd Command Center on the way. Not sure exactly what's going to get done. The creep spread looking pretty strong so far. Layer about to finish.
Roaches, more of them coming out now. I don't think we're going to have any early Nidus play this time around. It's kind of a thing you throw out in a best of 3.
Yeah.
To get them. Nidus play, like aggro Nidus play, basically never works 2 times in a row.
No, it should.
Because, you know, the player's head is supposed to be in other places.
Mm-hmm. So it looks like Mech here for FanTaSy once again, going for that Banshee speed right now. I love that he just doesn't go bio.
Yeah, he's sticking to this, man.
Yeah. I love styles like this. What do you think about those roaches in the center, Tasteless?
I really like them, Artosis.
Yeah, they're pretty cool right there, aren't they?
But what about these Hellions where the minerals are?
Where the roaches wish they were over here now.
Yeah. That's why you don't normally see them in the middle of the map.
You know what's funny? Is unless you're cross spawns, that watchtower doesn't have the most power.
We used to have a lot of maps that were like this, where the map was so big and there'd be a watchtower there, but it was possibly the least impactful watchtower that you could have in a game. What would you think about them having a watchtower that gave way more vision?
Way more vision? I think that's a pretty terrible idea, but
even for a map like this?
The thing is, they're like win more, right? If you have map control and then you have the watchtower, it makes your map control more strong.
Even if you made them, just for devil's advocate purposes, even if you made them like really hard to control somehow, or there was some kind
like
of
lava, the floor is lava or something.
Yeah, every
like
10 minutes lava comes up.
Oh, I'm down for that. I'm down for that.
Yeah.
Anything that will make pro gamers want to veto it, I am down for.
How long will we have to have StarCraft 2 out to have maps where lava comes up on the ground every so often? That could make for some good TV, Artosis.
It really could.
The lava's coming. Everybody, our hype casting
Alarms
gets so much better. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Lava's coming up for no reason. It makes no sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Our GSL Rapture season would have been the perfect one for that.
lava-themed.
We really missed it.
Yeah. It's too late now. Well, basically the Terran could stay back, use the Banshees to harass and hit different areas. Seems like there's not really more than 2 spots you can hit with Banshees, though, in these kinds of spawns. It's funny because initially you'd look at that and think, oh, okay, well that's easy access to both the main as well as this this rim of minerals just over the vacant area on the map. But actually, it's kind of hard to get around with the Banshees towards the upper right side of the Zerg's base, even with speed.
But eventually, doesn't RagnaroK have to expand to the top right, and then maybe the Banshees become strong again?
Perhaps. Yeah,
right?
That's a good point.
If you don't lose them before that.
You know, Heroes of the Storm, Artosis?
Yeah.
Try Hosts of the Swarm.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. He is going to come out now with a lot of them. But Banshees are fast!
Yeah, they're pretty good against these.
We're fast and invisible. Oof.
All right. Well, knocking down the rocks, getting ready to start using these swarm hosts a bit. Oh, those Banshees are really annoying. Look at that.
It's actually crazy how much damage they can do. They really can kind of go uncontested. Even Queens on creep, scrambling to try to drive them away.
Yeah. Well, when they get close, these Hell Muffins are going to go to work.
It looks like he can park right over where that, you know, like a third base could be taken here. Or sorry, fourth base actually could be taken, and just start to fly in and do damage from there. Maybe carving away at the main base here. Problem is with Banshees with speed, you need to get enough creep over here to where they can actually come up here and help fight. You know, right now there's actually just no anti-air. Ravagers do not count as anti-air against speed Banshees.
No, certainly not. You're never going to hit anything. But look at this. Like, I mean, I guess you can sit and fight those, but this composition is very funny. He's got all these queens. Yeah, he's pushing the creep up. I think the whole plan is to just launch Locust Wave after Locust Wave, but it seems hard to kill people with that nowadays.
Well, it also seems like we're getting to the point where if he doesn't start to get to do that now, it's not going to happen. And, you know, even though they're kind of close and that they're both sharing the bottom, they're actually pretty far from each other as far as walking distance. And even though it's the swarm hosts that are fast at walking on the ground, they can't really control an area until they actually get queens over there to help them cover.
Wow, the Banshee's getting so much work done. Look at that. So few queens left over here.
Okay, but now the Locusts are actually in range. Now, with all these tanks clumped up, okay, Hellbats in formation here. Wow.
Well, that was a good set of Locusts. That, finally, we see some actual value coming out of that, but he did lose a lot to be able to do that. Not sure how many times he's going to be able to do that because the Banshees are still floating around, still being produced as well. Yeah, he's actually pushing some spores up. Oh, I like that. I like that.
I still can't figure out if this is going to work or not. I mean,
yeah,
he's close enough, right? But, you know, Terran eventually outgrows this. It's not normally when, you know, the Terran is almost maxed out and the Locusts start to hit that this means it's going to work, right? Normally it's you hit kind of before the Terran is really cemented, the macro engine.
Yeah.
Before they really have like a lot of production coming out. And he can basically target down these tanks. I mean, that's the target here. That's the goal, is to kill the tanks, because then there's nothing long range enough to really punish the Zerg. I mean, yeah, Cyclones, you know, they have an excellent cooldown range attack, but you can always outlast that.
Rebellion's trying to get out on the map. Probably hoping to draw the attention of RagnaroK away. More spores continuing to come up. Just waiting for that next Locust Swarm. FanTaSy's got to do something more than this. You can't just send 5 Hellions on the map and that's your answer.
Here come the Banshees now. Again, one spore is usually enough to drive away these Banshees. Meanwhile, these Hellions come in here, and there is nothing to defend these workers.
Yeah, single queen here. Roaches are running in, but look at this, a lot more damage over on the other side. 2-3 Siege Tanks, Cyclone, Hellbat, Depot.
This expansion up here, this one in the upper left, it's going to be hard for the Swarm Host to really get to it, but the Roaches are enough. He can make it a little bit more difficult. Also, one thing about this map too is that the split in bases from top to bottom, there's no like base that fills that area in. So it's actually very hard for Terran to hold this in long drawn out games.
It's kind of interesting how it's like 4 distinct segments.
Yeah, this map is very clearly cut into quadrants. And I guess the islands are sort of shared, but you get the picture here.
Look at this. He's bashing in with these swarm hosts. Doing a great job.
I think he basically won this. This game RagnaroK did.
Seems pretty over. FanTaSy does have some decent mining still going on, so trying to hold on. But like, how do you deal with this set of units? He's making more and more siege tanks, but as soon as the Locusts come up, that has been a great counter thus far. He doesn't really have anything to shoot the Locusts out of the air. Doesn't really have Hellbats to soak up the shots anymore either.
Very quiet counterattacks from from FanTaSy that aren't really doing anything. And I mean, with the inside of the base about to be completely destroyed here, I think we basically have RagnaroK as our winner. I don't know how long FanTaSy is going to hang on. I mean, he has Out of all the players currently in GSL Cobalt, he basically stays in games the longest, but I mean, you guys see this game like I do. I don't know what on earth he can do to try to recover here.
Seems quite difficult. Just the Stormhouse count is not going down. The Banshees have done a lot. They have killed a lot, but they can't do it alone. Well, goodbye, Siege Shank. Barely knew you. You can really target anything with these. Yeah, see that?
Yeah.
Just start targeting things, because every time you're doing more damage than he can replace, really.
Yeah, well, that's the crazy thing about when you have enough of these locusts is that the damage is just incredible.
He's going to try to finish him off here.
It's one of the reasons why, you know, normally you have to hit at a very specific time with Swarm Host. I guess RagnaroK proved in this case it didn't have to be like that, but normally you kind of get enough that you snowball your way to a win. And you kind of, it's a game of tug of war, and you know, either the Terran can eventually snipe all the Swarm Hosts or outgrow them and you can't do anything, or the Zerg cracks in and starts to eat through the defense initially, and then expansions and then infrastructure, and the game's over.
Looks like this base is going to be going down. FanTaSy is expanding towards the top left, and I think he's making factories up there. But his income is starting to drop as he loses more bases. Oh, this could be good. All right, all right.
So he's driving those Swarm Hosts away. Yep, that's it. GG. RagnaroK takes that. That was going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Just,
FanTaSy, he gets last in the group, around a 16. He hasn't been back for that long, and he's playing completely his own style. So I think it's a pretty good result for him overall, even though obviously disappointing.
I applaud his playstyle. I look forward to casting his games again in the future.
Yeah. And that means that either Hurricane or RagnaroK will be going to GSL Cobalt round of 8, which is a big deal for them.
Yeah. Well, FanTaSy's got to be bummed about that. We're still waiting for him to have his big break. Up next is Hurricane versus RagnaroK, and we're going to be going to that after this short break. Don't go away.